my fellow mobile gamers? In today's video, we're going to talk about the best class for PvP, PvE, class overview. Which class is best for you? Before we get started, make sure you guys and girls are subscribed to the channel, notification bell, thumbs up this video if you enjoyed the video. It helps you decide who you want to pick. All right, we got a lot to talk about. This might seem boring because it's not going to be a lot of action. It's more informational video. I did a ton of extensive research yesterday. All right, first class I want to talk about is the Mage. This is by far the best class for PvE. Puts out a ridiculous amount of damage, but not just any damage. This is AoE damage. It's great for taking down tons of enemies fast. The other benefit to the Mage is the Mage deals a variety of spell damage. You'll notice we have ice damage, we have fire damage, and we also have lightning damage. One thing that I just gotta mention is this is strictly going to be about the starting classes. The downfalls to the Mage is it has the lowest HP out of the 4 classes, very low CC, crowd control ability that does sleep, and one ability that does a slow. Also, the Mage lacks mobility compared to the other ranged damage dealer, which is the Archer. When it comes to the advanced classes, though, you have Wizard or Necromancer for the Mage. I would personally go Necromancer. Necromancer is absolutely insane. When it comes to PvP, the Mage is okay, not the best. Like I said, the Mage is more for PvE. You will dominate the PvE scene. All right, next up we have is the Archer. The Archer is a really strong class. Has the second highest HP just behind the Warrior, does tons of physical attack damage, but because of that, it lacks spell damage. So the Archer really doesn't have hardly any spell damage. It's easier to counter the Archer. You can just buff up your physical defense to kind of not take so much damage from the Archer. The Archer probably has, I want to say, the second best AoE. The Mage is by far the best AoE. The Archer also has better mobility than the Mage. The Archer's class ability actually gives it a speed buff when it hits a critical strike. Also has the highest evade out of all 4 starting classes, so you're able to dodge and evade a lot more damage than the other classes. When it comes to crowd control, not very good with that. It does have a decent stun ability though, and it also has a slow ability as well. When it comes to PvE or PvP, I would say the Archer is one of the best for PvP. I would say the Archer is in between. I would say like the middle line for PvE. The Archer is not the greatest, but it's also not the worst. For the advanced classes, you have the Ranger and the Assassin. If you strictly want to have the best possible PvP class, go Assassin. Assassin is absolutely insane when it comes to PvP. All right, next up we have the Warrior. Has the highest HP out of the 4 classes, but it also has ridiculously high physical attack. So not to be confused, the Warrior isn't strictly just a tank that just takes up damage and doesn't put out damage. The Warrior actually puts out a tremendous amount of damage, a lot more than you would think. The downside though is the Warrior has very weak magic attacks. Also, the crit chance on the Warrior is extremely low compared to the other 4 starting classes. The Warrior is really good at taking physical damage, but its weakness would be magic damage. So you'll notice it has a high physical shield, has a ton of CC abilities. You have stuff like reduce enemy damage. You have an invincible ability, which means you're unaffected by damage for a certain period of time. You have a stun, you have a taunt, you have a slow. You pretty much have everything when it comes to the Warrior. The Warrior does have 2 variants of the abilities that can deal lightning damage. So if you wanted to try and build a Warrior into magic damage dealer, you could do that. And then for the advanced classes, you have the Paladin and the Berserker. The Paladin is kind of more of a high survivability, slightly tanky build. The Berserker, absolutely insane. This is a big juicer, especially when it comes to PvP. I would personally say that the Warrior class is probably hand in hand, one of the best PvP classes, especially when you up it to Berserker. Put out a tremendous amount of damage. You have your own heal abilities, but most importantly, a ton of CC. You can be stunning your opponent all the time. I'm personally kind of upset that I went with Priest as my main. After I tried out the Warrior class for a while, I was like, man, the Warrior is really strong. I kind of wish I made the Warrior my main account. So I'm probably going to make another account where I'm going to pick the Warrior, free-to-play account for that. I think a lot of people are sleeping on the Warrior, and then the Berserker class as an advanced class. Berserker, just crazy amount of damage. When it comes to PvE, the Warrior class is also ridiculously strong. The Warrior is probably one of the most well-rounded. Really good for PvP and absolutely needed when it comes to PvE because there's just so much CC and survivability. And finally, we have the Priest. The Priest has the lowest HP out of the four, hand in hand with the Mage. So the Mage and the Priest have the lowest HP. However, of course, we know that the Priest is a healer. So because of that, if you pick the Priest, you have access to tons of self-heals, which help out a ridiculous amount when it comes to both PvP and PvE. You'll also almost never run out of health potions because you're constantly going to be self-healing as opposed to other classes who rely a lot more on those health potions. A downside to the Priest, though, of course, is it has very low attack. Doesn't have a lot of CC either. It does have a blind and a stun, which are pretty good. But one unique thing for the Priest is the Priest's basic attacks do holy damage, which is really good. A lot of the other classes, their basic attacks will just do like physical damage. The Priest is also a very sought after character when it comes to dungeons and forming a party. You almost always need to have a Priest in your team. So because of that, if you do pick the Priest, it should be a lot easier for you to party up with other players. There's a lot of different builds for the Priest too. I'm gonna have a whole video where we do different builds for all the different characters. You can kind of go like a straight healer build, or you can put out damage as well. When it comes to the advanced classes, we have the Cleric and the Sage. The Cleric does straight holy damage, whereas the Sage does nature physical damage, which is actually pretty interesting. Also does some healing abilities as well. When it comes to PvP, I would say that the Priest is pretty good, not horrible. But it kind of depends on how you build the Priest. You can build the Priest to be pretty strong PvPer if you do have a few of those self-heals. When it comes to PvE, the Priest is definitely one of the top notches, one of the best, because you can get into parties easier. You're going to be healing up your teammates. So very important class for PvE. If you guys and girls enjoyed this video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Hopefully it helped you decide what class you want to pick. I'll see you very soon with another video. Stay happy, stay safe, my friends. Peace.
Pick it up. You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up. You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure